In breaking news, Shields Green has caused many poisonings within Europe. On May 31st, child George Graham had been discovered to have accidentally chewed on a piece of wallpaper containing Shields Green, the toxic pigment containing arsenic. His mother noticed that he was vomiting profusely and suffering from severe abdominal pain, and a doctor was soon called and arrived 3 hours later onto the scene. Dr. Thomas Trail arrived at the scene to find the boy still suffering from abdominal pain. Based on the mother's story, he knew it was the arsenic green in the wallpaper. He prescribed the child milk of magnesia as well as egg whites distilled in water. And by the third day, the child had passed 2 little bits of paper in his stool, which after further testing, Dr. Trail had determined had arsenic-based dyes. But in a more high-profile case, reports have determined that Napoleon Bonaparte of France also suffered from arsenic poisoning prior to his death. But rather than ingesting any bits of paper as a 3-year-old would, Napoleon just happened to live in a world of arsenic-based green wallpaper, which covered his St. Helena. In the French ruler's autopsy, an enlarged liver and stomach lesions were discovered. As well, samples of his hair were tested to find high levels of arsenic in them. And although we cannot conclusively conclude that Napoleon was murdered by his wallpaper, what we do know is that it was prominent enough for it to be present in his hair as well as everything else about him while he was in St. Helena. And now we go to Luna, who will explain to us the history of arsenic-based dyes in clothing during Victoria. Thank you, Raina. Now, in 1775, chemist Carl Scheele, which you have been incorrectly pronouncing Scheele this entire time, like a stupid human, a more intense, brighter, and longer-lasting green was developed from the copper arsenate compound. Now, this was fine and dandy, except for the fact that arsenic is incredibly toxic. And when these fashionable young women sweat through their green stockings, gloves, or other garments, the toxins would then seep into their skin. This would cause chemical burns, leading to open sores, which would lead to more toxins being absorbed into the skin. And now, back to Raina, where she will provide visual examples of Scheele's green in real life. Thank you, Luna, for that riveting discussion and for correcting me. We really do appreciate your time and consideration. I'm glad you could sacrifice your busy schedule to discuss this. And as Luna was saying, Scheele's green was used in many different forms during this time period. But in around 1815, it had begun to fall out of style because it was toxic, and people knew that. We also know that this was not the first time that toxic forms of clothing were used by people to get fancy. People have been putting lead on their face to make it lighter since before Elizabeth I. This paint chipped incredibly easily as well, so it was known as the Dance of Death, especially when it flaked off of the clothes. Now, Scheele's green was not the only green on the market, as Paris green and emerald green both contained arsenic solutes as well. Listen to us tonight, we do appreciate it. From our newsroom to yours, don't want wallpaper that's covered in arsenic.